right, you know when you go on holiday,
Yeah.
okay, and you have a lovely relaxing time. It's really great. You do all these great things, and then you sort of go, oh, we got to come back. And we only did a few nights, right? It wasn't a full week, but like I did a few nights, and then we were like, okay, we got to come back. And as we came back, we were like, we haven't eaten properly at all. It's all been like street food, sweets, chocolate, booze. It's been and obviously you just go to like excess, don't you? In terms of food, and not bad food, but you haven't eaten substantial meals. And so we've come back home, obviously with no food in the house, and you just sort of carry on in that kind of state.
Yeah.
So we haven't had a chance to go to a shop really properly. We're just eating random crap. So we were just like today, let's cook properly, let's do that. But even then, we were in holiday mode. So by the time we needed to cook, it was bedtime.
So and just to give that context, it's about 8:45 at night. We're starting to record this, and Matt's still not eating. Which for me, if I hadn't eaten by now, I'd be starting to eat the sofa. The pillows would look quite edible. Like 8:45 is absolutely ludicrous.
It's quite horrendous. Plus the fact that I've got a beer going now as well.
Oh, nice segue into the. Tell me what you're drinking, Matt.
Getting into it, bro. We're getting into it. We're making magic.
Week 2 of the podcast, and Matt's like, I am segueing the holy shit out of the next hour and a half. Let's just segue all the way.
Oh, we're professionals now. We're 2 episodes in. We're already pros. What am I drinking? I am drinking right now. It's called a Minster, and it's from York, and it's from the York Brewery. Since 1996, it is a New World Bitter. This is the first taste. I'm going to do it right now. We'll do it right now.
Here we go. Live test. Ooh.
That is a bitter.
Ooh.
I can confirm. That's quite nice. Bit light, bit florally.
Floral bitter.
That's right.
You have to get my teeth and gums around that,
What are you drinking? You on the spirits again? I
am indeed. I am on. Today is Captain Morgan's Tiki rum.
You've got exotic stuff, man.
God, I've got exotic taste. Which when you see me in person, it's the last thing you think of. You think rough. But yeah, exotic taste. Yeah, Captain Morgan's Tiki. Have you had Tiki? Captain Morgan's Tiki?
I don't think I have, I don't think so.
I think it's pineapple. It's definitely pineapple and maybe mango. It's like proper tropical, and it just tastes like squash. I fundamentally endorse the holy hell out of Tiki. So what are we talking about today, Matt?
Oh, we've got so many things to address before we kick into our next movie. First things first, we discovered that we can't be called the Guardians of the Multiverse because, as we explained in the first episode, we're not talking about source material. We're not like complete historical nerds of the Marvel universe. So Forrest found out that actually exists, that name in the MCU.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're having to strike that name from the podcast straight off the bat, right? I think we've come up with another name, haven't we?
Oh yes.
All right. So this kind of is on the basis of what we were talking about in the first episode, what this podcast is all about, the fact that we are just two normal dudes who like to go and see some superhero movies and talk about it. So we are called the Don't Be a Hero podcast.
Oh, don't be a hero.
I like it. I think it's nice. We're the everyman, we're the everyman of talking about extraordinary people. And we're not the heroes ourselves, but we like talking about those that are.
Absolutely. And and we recommend, don't be a hero for hero's sake. I mean, go out there. If you know that if you're an NHS worker, for instance, and you can save someone's life, be the hero that you are. But if you have no clue what to do, if you're Yinsen from Iron Man,
exactly,
and you're running out with a gun that you probably never used on a whole load of terrorists, don't be a hero.
Don't be a hero. Just make that Jericho missile. Just do it. Which actually, again, segues perfectly into the second thing we majorly effed up.
Oh, yeah. Major mistake number 2.
We were like, oh, yeah. So next movie is Iron Man 2. Actually, it's not.
What movie is it, Matt?
It's The Incredible Hulk.
Oh.
Yes. So it's Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk, which actually came out in 2008, the same year as Iron Man.
Edward who?
Edward who? We mentioned Edward Norton in a rib in the first episode. Little did we know at that point we would have to watch 2 hours of his face in this movie.
Straight away. That was his last and final jab into the very throat of this podcast. You're going to jab at me, I'm going to fuck you up, and you're going to have to watch it straight away.
Literally. So we have had to this is just my personal view on this, but I've had to endure for the sake of the podcast on watching this.
But we're going to go into it. We'll go into it with fresh minds. We've watched it. We can it's been a long while since I watched it. I cast that to the deep dark.
Mate, no recollection.
And do you know what? And the first comment I'd make is even have Marvel, right? Because this is the only film that it is not on Disney Plus out of the Marvel entire universe, pretty much. Me and Matt, not only did we have to, to a degree suffer by doing it as the second film, we also had to pay additional fee for the privilege. We both had to pay an additional fee to watch it. Which, for all of the other films, I've got the subscription. It's there, mate. I was like, right, bish bash bosh, won't have to pay a penny. Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay, let's just set this up. All right, just a little bit of context before we go into the actual content of the movie. Now, like we just said, so 2008, this came out. This was just before or after?
Just after Iron Man.
Just after Iron Man. Okay. Now, as Forrest said, Edward Norton is in this movie Bruce Banner. He is quite renowned to be quite a difficult actor. And apparently, what I have, sourced from the internet is that it was actually originally written as a sequel. This one to the 2003 Hulk movie, right? Which, mate, I don't know if I told you, I started watching the first 15 minutes of that movie without knowing it was the wrong one. Like I went straight into it going, yeah, wow, this is quite dated. How does it look like this where it came out the same year as I? Oh, it's literally the wrong one.
Did you enjoy the first 15 minutes?
Oh, mate, that was messy as well in its own right. I don't want to deep dive about that because it was just
I'm so over it. I don't even want to remotely deep dive.
It kind of softened the blow, I think, a little bit when I then went into the Edward Norton version. Yeah. But it apparently through loads and loads of rewrites that Edward Norton was integral in, the connection of the first movie, of the first Hulk, was completely apparently severed. And as you know, in the opening of that movie, it gives it a new origin of the Hulk, which apparently, if you kind of ignore it, then it works as a sequel.
Ooh.
Right? But actually, in hindsight, it doesn't do anything really. I think in terms of it being a sequel, I don't think it justifies it at all.
That is fantastic opening, Matt, because that segues perfectly into my first comments of the film, which was the credit scene. So the opening credits, right? Why was and well, now I know, but why wasn't that in the movie? That's what I want. I want to watch the origin. I want to watch the whole laboratory tests. I want to see I wanted to meet Betty the proper way, and I was just I could not believe when it opened, and I was like rewatching the opening time. I was like, oh, okay, so I'm watching a literal entire film's worth in a credit scene.
It feels like that they went, oh, we need to do a load of reshoots, and Edward Norton goes, well, I want a new origin. It needs to be like this. This is how the origin of Hulk needs to be, and they probably just threw that in last minute, because that's what it feels like. It feels like it's just thrown in, literally thrown in, and you go, okay.
It's the most vile looking part of the film as well. Like, just the way it's edited, like I say, everything just feels very last minute. Like, it's just the cuts are horrible. It's like, what these are introductions to fairly colossal characters, and you've just absolutely given them no airtime. And instead, I just get a Marvel Studios production written across, some vital.
It feels like a really disjointed prologue, which works perfectly for us, because Forrest, I think you need to now talk about the synopsis, mate, in your next movie voice, because you said you weren't going to do the one you did the first time round.
I did indeed, and obviously I've been practicing all week. Scientist Bruce Banner desperately seeks a cure for the gamma radiation that contaminated his cells and turned him into the Hulk. Cut off from his true love, Betty Ross, and forced to hide from his nemesis, General Thunderbolt Ross, Banner soon comes face to face with a new threat, a supremely powerful enemy known as the Abomination.
Interesting. I mean, on the front, that doesn't sound too bad, right?
That it sounds
to me.
And and the Abomination
never gets mentioned.
So that is the weirdest summary inclusion I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
He never mentions it. No, we only ever know him to be Blonsky.
Yeah, I don't think they and as well, they never really give that a chance when it gets to it, but we'll probably talk about that in a minute anyway. Interesting. It does, and this is the thing, right? I don't want this to be a whole hour of us absolutely ripping into this movie, which is going to be difficult in its own right, I think. But there are some things that I'm like, I wish it was like this, or I wish they did it like that. There are some minor good bits, but I think mostly on the whole, it was a tricky one, man. It was a hard watch.
It was. It's an hour and 45 minutes, right? It's not even a 2-hour film. If you take away the credits, you take away whatever, hour and 45. Like, it cannot afford to be a bad film when its running time is actually quite short. The films we have now, 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours, and the things they pack in that amount of time. And there were definite scenes in this film where I'd be like, if that was done now, that would be cut.
But so we get the opening that we've just spoken about, and then it flies into the fact that he's kind of, taken himself out of the picture. He's exiled. He's exiled himself.
He's exiled himself, and he's a fugitive.
Exactly. So and this is the thing, and he decides to go to Brazil.
Yeah.
Why Brazil? What's going on in Brazil, and where he can't go anywhere a little bit closer? Canada. All right. I know, this is sort of New York, isn't it? I think. Why can't he just go a little bit closer? Brazil's just I don't know, random. I think it's just a bit random.
Or further away. If the whole point is that you want to get as far away as possible, Brazil's not that even that far enough away. You want to.
This is the other thing, right? I'm getting pent up, mate. Right. He goes to Brazil. Okay, fine. There's no explanation there. He goes to Brazil. Fine, go to Brazil. If that's where people, in Hollywood movies, when people kind of exile themselves or they're in hiding, I'm going to go live in Cuba because that's where everybody lives, right? When they're in hiding. Random. But Brazil, fine. He decides to exile himself because he has a stressful life and he has a stressful environment, right? He then decides to go and get a job in a working factory where there's lots of busy, bustling stuff happening, and he's working with a boss that's asking him to fix a bunch of things, which seems quite stressful. And I'm like, okay, why is Bruce Banner doing this? This seems like a stressful environment. If he's trying to sort of be all calm and kosher and he's learning about jiu-jitsu and there's those shots of him trying to, learn about his breath and his breathing and all those kind of things, sort of meditative kind of like techniques he's trying to learn while he's there. I get that. Okay, that's fine. But he's working in a stressful environment, mate. Cut that out for starters, dude. What? Work in a cafe.
You've not started yourself right there. But then again, the only thing I would agree, if he worked in a cafe, public facing. He has got himself into a scenario where he's working, in the least public place.
He's smart. Be an accountant then.
I mean, to be honest, he probably wasn't thinking like. I don't know. It's how long are we in? He's been there for 200 days, isn't he? So he's been there for less than a year. So, I mean, his ambition might be to go for accountant, but I don't know how quite quickly you go from scientist to accountant.
Hello, Mr. Banner. I'd like you to be my accountant, please. Yeah, sure. Your taxes are all messed up. They're making me quite angry. You won't like me when I'm angry. See, that doesn't happen. You won't see that happening, right? You don't see accountants getting angry, really. Why isn't he a masseuse? That's relaxing.
Oh yeah.
He's strong as well. He's still got the gamma radiation inside him, so he can still do a good firm massage.
If he is working on your back and he accidentally turns into the Hulk, I mean, could you're like, fuck it.
Imagine those big thumbs going into your spine.
I've had a Thai massage and that was bad enough. But if Hulk stood on your back, I mean, you'd die. But
how's that massage? Hulk-like massage.
Hulk smash. No smash. That's my.
Okay, actually, do you know what? I'm beginning to understand why now he works in the factory. Because it wouldn't work as being a masseuse because he'd kill them by accident.
Yeah.
He wouldn't work being an accountant because, I don't know why we figured that out. Why does he want to be accountant? Because it's too boring, probably. It's too boring for him. You'll find it he's an intellect. That's not the type. He can't do a cafe job because it's public facing and he's in hiding.
Yeah.
So maybe actually being a factory worker is the right. Wow, Edward Norton thought of everything.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Yeah. Although, do you know what? He would have been a good audio typist. Because he could have just stayed at home. Okay, occasionally he gets the court stuff come through. Oh yeah, I'll tie this up. No problem at all. It's not stressing him out. Yeah. He's not going to work with anyone.
Oh, Cynthia, you've given me too much. Oh, my hands. And then it breaks.
Oh, he's lying about his own. He's lying about his insurance claim. Oh. And then we have the blood moment.
Oh, the blood moment. So he gets a kind of a scratch, doesn't he, on his finger, and the blood kind of goes down at the top of the kind of second floor.
And then it just splashes on a bottle, right? And there's loads of bottles on the production line. Bruce goes absolutely mad. He's like, no, got to stop. They press the big red button. They stop the production line. I'm making this sound as sexy as it is because it really is a great moment in the film. And then he sees a little bit of blood and he goes, "Oh, I'll remove that. No problem at all." Next thing we know, oh, is that the end of the blood? No, it ends up in one part of the production line and then about 5 or 10 meters away in a different part of the production line on a glass. And that bottle is drunk by
Stanley.
Stan Mother-thrickin' Lee.
So what's that about then? Because does he get gamified? Does he die?
This is the thing. It's too big a cameo because essentially I want to see that character again.
We can't canonize that into the MCU. This is why this film is so problematic. Because you go, Stanley, oh my God, and he has a bit of that drink and he gets gamified, gets a little bit overexcited. You don't see him fall and die, but they kind of tell you that effectively, this dude had this drink and it didn't really go very well for him. So yeah, Stanley got a bit of the gamma radiation and somehow died. I don't know. It was weird.
Strange moment. It was the weirdest of the voices to make the military aware of where Bruce was.
Well, basically, this is the other thing, right? This is another question of mine that I've literally written down in my notes is how do they find out that quickly that somebody has drunk a drink and been affected by the same gamma radiation that Bruce Banner has, right? It seems, and this is the thing, it all feels quite instantaneous. And again, the way that it was put together in the shoot just doesn't really give you any indication on the time, because in terms of the only recollection or the audience knowing of time is the little digits that come up on, he goes day number 20, 219. Without hulking was whatever it is. I can't remember.
It would take 238 days without an incident.
There you go. So that's the only premise that we understand of what the dates are. There is no update to that date when these moments happen. So we all think that this is happening in the same day. Like literally, they have taken it, they have packaged that, it's gone straight into Stanley's fridge, and he has died from it in 24 hours, and all of a sudden the American government know about that, right?
So I'm actually, having thought about it, Matt, there is a clear way. Obviously, Stanley. So that is Stanley died because what happened was his body got put in. They realised that he had gamma in his body. They were like, "How the hell does that happen?" And then traced it back. But
which again ruins everything in terms of all of the lovely cameos that he's had. Which is fine. Let's move on from Stanley because we don't want to,
tribute to the old guy, but that was the worst way they could have brought him in the film. Tribute, have a drink, done.
Have a drink. Yeah. Anyway, at that point, Tim Roth enters. Now Tim Roth, I don't know about you, Forrest, but I quite enjoy a lot of his performances. I think he's a really good actor. And I actually remember when he was cast in this going, yeah, that's good. I think that works. Your first initial thoughts from you, because I kind of feel like I'm alone in this.
I, in this, wouldn't say he was the worst person by a long shot. I feel for me that I think it's more about what they do with his character, Blonsky, that I'm more concerned with.
I mean, what a way to make a villain, English and Russian. Whoa. Yeah. the moment he comes out of that helicopter, like Thunderbolt Ross goes, yeah, he's British and Russian. And you're like, oh, he's going to be a bad guy. He's doubly villainish, he's English and Russian. Well,
it's just not, for me, there is not enough that, right, we go back to the first film and we think about our hero of the first film.
You about to say Jeff Bridges again?
Obadiah, that's it. yeah. Jeff Bridges, Obadiah. So, and you think about, right, Obadiah looked after Stark Industries for a little bit, then Tony Stark came in. There is a reason for the villain, right? Reason for that. fucking Blonsky, absolutely no reason whatsoever, mate. Like, comes out of the plane, he's there to do a mission. Like, if you're telling me he gets that, like, adamant about a mission, like, what's he done for the rest of his life? Like, for him, he didn't know that this mission was, like, bigger than it was, but yet from literally the first point in the film that he's brought in, he treats it like vendetta that he's had against Bruce and Hulk or whatever, right? He doesn't come and watch it and go, oh, hello, I need to know a bit more about this to understand, you know. It's very weird.
He definitely gets shoehorned in, I think, in terms of there's no setup. There is no setup for his character, which I think it shows how problematic I think that role was for him, because you can see he as the actor is struggling to really put through a backstory context into the situation, you know. And then the fact that I think there's a moment when he has a scene, and this is actually interesting because like that it was the moment he has a single sort of scene with Thunderbolt Ross in the sort of the hangar, the aircraft hangar. Yeah. Right. And I think between the moment he is introduced to the moment that he has that moment is when Edward Norton decides to then run around in the fucking jungle Amazon, pretend to be George from the jungle for about 15 minutes. Yeah. I literally couldn't give a crap about those moments. The only next bit that I got interested in was this moment in where Thunderbolt Ross asked him about, look, you should be a corporal at this point in your age. And he goes, I'm a fighter. All right, that's what I do. That's all I know, and that's all I want to do. And then the kind of proposition of the super soldier serum, you understand that Tim Roth's character is aware of the super soldier serum. He's aware of, and this is again, if we're canonizing, his character should have been and would most likely be aware of the Captain America situation, what happened in World War II. You know, all of those kind of, and he's probably obsessed about that. And this is his opportunity to become a super soldier so we can keep fighting and feel young for the rest of his life. That's the backstory. But that is only the backstory because of the 20 plus movies we have had.
Yeah.
If we watched that in 2008, there is no context.
No.
Because it's not been played out. If it sits in the MCU, right?
Yeah. This is where I'm going to have to put in my controversial comment number one, Matt. Possibly controversial. I think General Ross and Betty Ross, both of the Rosses, worst acting in the entire film.
Wow. Really?
Honestly, William Hurt, absolutely like ludicrous caricature.
Really?
Too much of it just from moment. The whole reason I loved Obadiah was you had light and shade, and you could see this guy had the persona, he had the public, like it. And I know I know he's playing a general, and I know that's different. It's a completely different world, completely. But oh my God, it's just character. Like it's just the guy would have another persona, whether that's in the army or outside of it, with his daughter, with like the whole time. It's just the same character throughout, right? But even at the end, when we try and see a little bit of humanity from him, I just don't think there was enough humanity put into that character. But is that just the writing of the film? Because
I would say I'm gonna disagree with you there. Okay, because I think it is the writing. Thunderbolt Ross and Betty Ross, I think, are the two best characters in the movie from my point of view.
Betty.
Now I think the performances you're hating out of Liv Tyler. Now I'm a bit biased. I am a Liv Tyler fan. All right. Gwyneth Paltrow can get in the bin, but Liv Tyler can stay on the top shelf in terms of biggest fans over here. All right. Lord of the Rings, all that, you know, right? Aerosmith.
Oh, Liv Tyler and Lord of the Rings. Great. I can get on board with Liv Tyler. But in this film, Liv Tyler has has about as much charisma.
I got a question then for you, mate. I got a question. Okay, before you talk about her charisma and slate her charisma, right? If we got the introduction, in terms of the origin and setup of the movie in half an hour, like we spoke about, would you enjoy the character and her performance more?
Potentially. I feel with her, it's not the story, it was the acting. It was I don't feel like she'd given herself parameters of a character enough.
This is the thing. She and we're disagreeing here, right? I say this with love, mate, but this is the writing, because she is playing the emotional states of where her character should be, right? She loves this guy. He went and exiled himself, right? And she got pushed away from him, and she's still in love with him. And then all of a sudden he comes back, and obviously there's this scene where Phil Dunphy's in it.
Phil Dunphy. Well, we're going to get to Phil Dunphy.
And she sees Bruce over his shoulder and sort of rushes out. She's all kind of caught up in the moment and emotional, and she sees them again. And you just feel that tension and that hurt. That emotion is there because that's where it should be for the character, but it's not explained at all or justified in the film, because the origin and the backstory, of which we got in a minute and a half in the opening credits, isn't enough for the audience to get and to understand and to invest in. So I think it's the right. I know it's the writing, because Liv Tyler, bless her cotton socks, really went for it, I think, in the role as best as she probably could, knowing how troublesome the script was. I think we've kind of touched on a subject in where we feel like we might need other voices on this. So, if you've watched The Incredible Hulk recently, okay, or you have a good memory of this movie, it'd be good to get to your thoughts, actually. So what you could do, one listener, if you want to, you could email in at don'tbeaheropodcast@gmail.com and let us know your thoughts on, specifically as well as this kind of subject, the fact that we're talking about Betty Ross and Thunderbolt Ross, their character arcs, and equally, is it the writing?
Is it the writing, or is it the performance? And also, because I just want to say, you said one listener, but you didn't do a big shout out to our most loyal listener, John Favreau.
John. Hello, John. John, you listening, John? John, put down that cookie, mate. Put the cookie down, John. John, put the cookie down and tell me you casting me, mate. Yeah. Thanks, dude. All right, mate.
Good time. There you go.
I think I lost that cookie, mate. That threw me a bit there. I'm not gonna lie.
I know why you went for cookie, mate. Out of all the things in the world,
all I could think about was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'll let you see yourself.
Cut that. Oh my God, cut that.
Let's go back to our good friend Ty Burrell, Leonard, aka Phil Dunphy. So Leonard, he popped up. I felt for Leonard. What a terrible journey for this character. You're with someone, she's not interested in any world, because it might have been nearly a year, but she's still thinking about Mr. Banner over there, wherever he may be. And for me, you mentioned there's a particular scene, they're sat at a cafe, and she sees Bruce at the door and then kind of rushes out, right? I don't know, maybe I'll watch the moment again, but for me, it was too instantaneous, right? And the camera gave us an opportunity to see into the eyes of Betty and really, for her to kind of work that moment out, like, was he actually there? And then the performance just escalated to too much of a degree for me. It's nearly been a year. right? You found another fella. You're carrying on with life as much as you can. You've seen it. You've seen a brief like glance of him, and you'll be talking to your new fella, and you'll be going, oh, "Hang on a minute, that's a bit strange." And then she comes back to who's the dude who owns the place?
His Ed's mate. I can't character's name.
Yeah,
escapes me, but yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, and she talks to him after, doesn't she? And she goes, "Oh, was that Brew?" Right? For me, that would have happened in that moment. You, if I haven't seen you for a year, right? If I haven't seen you for a year, then I'll be
God forbid
what's happened.
God forbid, mate.
God forbid. See you. If I'm not. I think you go. Hang on a minute. That was a bit weird. What? You'd be like, okay, it's you, okay, and then you turn around to the guy who owns the cafe to go, hang on a minute, did you just
clock that, right?
Did you just see that? And then you wait for his, and if his face is literally like, oh my god, that was fucking like Bruce was just there, and I know he's just seen Bruce, so he's not going to be as surprised, but he's still going to be surprised that Bruce just had the balls to show his face, walk in. And then it would have been oh my god, it was him, rush out. But that just moment.
It's messy, mate. It's messy writing.
Runs out,
yeah.
So what to scream for, mate? You just run around, like, scream and run. You don't just, no one stands in one play. And I don't know.
I think you're right. You're right, mate. There's different circumstances. That scene could have played out. And I think of more kind of realistic circumstances, just that the whole it was melodramatic, that scene, wasn't it? Like the fact that she came, she fripping. I feel so sorry for Phil Dunphy's character. I'll call him Ty Burrell's character, right? He was mid conversation, and she just ignores him. She just runs out. Runs out.
No, you'd at least do the normal, like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Sorry, can I just go? I'm just gonna go check. Yeah.
Could I just, I'm sorry, Phil Dunphy. It's
so weird. It's so weird.
So yeah, they're my thoughts. I think the general. I mean, for me, there are not many standout performances. I mean, Christ.
Oh, wait, there is one standout performance, mate. There is one. It's another cameo. Did you see the other cameo?
Are we? Hang on, we're getting far too ahead of ourselves.
I don't. I'm moving straight ahead. No, it might not be the one you're talking about. There is a moment, and it is kind of round about that time anyway, because it is kind of just before the fight scene in the university, along the green where new super soldier Tim Roth turns up. Just prior to all that, Edward Norton goes to security, I think, and bribes security with a box of donuts. And that security guard is none other than the legend Lou Ferrigno, who was the original Hulk in the TV series that I actually grew up watching. And so he actually has a few lines with Edward Norton in the film. He actually also has a cameo in the original for the first blockbuster movie of the Hulk in 2003 with Stan Lee in his scene as well. So he actually has two kind of cameos in this. Well, let's talk about it now, then. So this performance of Edward Norton is convoluted. It's not remotely the Hulk we anticipate and expect to see at all. It is stale. There is what I think he thinks he's delivering subtlety actually is nothing. There is nothingness in it. It was stale for me. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like his performance. I think the way that his lines were written poorly.
His whole, from what we gather about his journey in the production of this film, is exactly he portrays that struggle in his entire performance. Like it's almost like he's turned up to work and thought, "Oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again." Yeah. 3, 2, 1, action. Yeah. And then, right? Massive gripe. What the holy hell were they thinking? As I'm going to describe it, and you've got to tell me which scene I'm on about. Right?
Okay.
The King Kong scene.
The King Kong scene.
Yep. Which scene is the King Kong scene?
I'm trying to think. He doesn't climb a tower, does he?
No. You'll kick yourself in a minute, mate.
The King Kong scene.
Yep.
No, I don't. This goes to show how much I have a short-term memory loss with this. I literally watched it yesterday.
But he's in the film at this point, right? We've had the cheesy rain on the motorway, right? And then after that, I think we have he becomes Hulk. It's the next time he becomes Hulk, right? So he.
Oh yes, in the cave.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know it.
Yes.
Right?
God, yes.
The whole scene. Because you were going on about earlier where we just see Edward walking. Just walking. I'm bored of his acting as it is, let alone he literally is doing a boring activity. But this one is, oh my God, he's Hulk. He sat there like a petulant child, like a green petulant child, sat next to Betty, who's just fluttering her little eyelids at Hulky Boy, right? Stood in a cave. Lightning hits because Hulk loses all kind of, absolutely no reason why Hulk has to become a fucking like infant the minute he turns into the Hulk. There's no reason for that. Gamma it might turn you physically. It's not going to go, right, we're going to give you a mental age of 5 now. And he goes, oh, I've got thunder. Oh, thunder and lightning. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, rage. Oh. And then he has to sit down for a bit in probably a puddle in the cave. Sat down. His ass is getting wet. She's fluttering her eyelids. And it's like just literally like you're watching like King Kong and whoever,
That's so true. There's no and again, if you put this into comparison to the way that Black Widow's relationship is with Bruce Banner / Hulk in the MCU is vastly different. It's not kind of like, don't be, there's no real kind of weird kind of petulant innocence, adolescence coming out of the Hulk's behavior. It's deeper than that. There is this kind of like, there is this moment of recollection that the Hulk sees in Black Widow, and then she talks about the sun's getting real low, and then all of a sudden there has this kind of like trigger line for him. There's none of that, and that's actually when those moments were happening in that film. But all I was thinking about was how right they did it with Black Widow and the Hulk.
Oh, really, really good. And I think you don't appreciate what they've done with Hulk until you go back and watch this film.
100%. The tone of this movie is even so vastly different to the tone of what Iron Man is. You look what Iron Man is, and that works within the MCU wholeheartedly, right? When we talk about it being the foundation of the rest of these movies coming out, Hulk just doesn't sit right. And that's my main and whole gripe of this movie. It doesn't fit in the puzzle because of just creative differences, egos that are in this. And unfortunately, I think if it worked with being a collaborative effort, we probably would have got a better, more to fit MCU Hulk movie, which we still have had yet to have in terms of standalone thing. But can we go back to one of my? Should we talk about our favorite moments? We do need to talk about our favorite moments. Okay. I have one favorite moment, and it only because it just made me laugh my head off.
Yeah.
Was the trying not to Hulk out during sex scene. Did you remember this bit where him and Betty have a moment alone, and his watch is beeping. His heart rate obviously is elevated. He's in the heat of the moment. He's feeling the passion with Liv Tyler. I mean, who wouldn't be feeling that with Liv Tyler, right? So he's feeling it, and then he sort of notices his heart rate's up, and he goes, "Oh, wait, no, I've got to pull out. Steady on, okay." And he's like, "I can't do this." And she's like, "Why?" And he was like, "Well, babe, if we're going to keep going, I'm going to Hulk out." And I'm thinking, hang on, surely that's a good thing.
Well, okay, right. I've got to take us further back, Matt, to describe.
Oh God, come on.
Right, Edward.
Don't do
when
that.
we said about Bruce being a masseuse, and that fact that rhymes makes me very happy.
Bruce the masseuse. That's got to exist out there. Come on, I'm searching that. Oh my God.
But for those reasons, Matt, that we outlined earlier, I mean, he could turn into Hulk and she could have a great time for about half a second before she is crushed to death. So it's one way of departing the earth. But
apparently this question came up in an interview later on when the Avengers came out, the first Avengers, where I think Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, I think, were asked the question of what's the worst place to Hulk out, and I think RDJ said the bedroom, and then Chris Evans was like, actually, surely that's the best place for it to happen. That's only my favorite moment, just because it made me laugh. It made me think about if they did go with it, that, you know, what would have happened. Anyway, what's your favorite moment, mate?
So my favorite moment, probably, well, there's two, right? One of my favorite moments, he has rocked up. So Bruce goes to the laboratory. He's trying to get the data, and up comes Norton 360 antivirus, and it just made me laugh. Because so as a kid, my mum was always really, really adamant that we pop Norton antivirus on all computers, all laptops, right? I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't buy anything without. Have you got Norton? Have you put Norton on it? Forrest, if you put Norton on that, you know, this got 3 devices. This can be put on, and here's your serial code, and it just made me laugh. That, you know, in probably it's got to be one of the most secure laboratories, right? It must be if they're doing experiments.
To have some backup.
You've got to have some backup. Of course, it's the Norton antivirus.
Of course, it is. Mate,
Norton antivirus, man. Nothing can get through that.
What, you getting your subscription? Oh, absolutely.
Jesus Christ, mate. Oh God, yes, yeah.
Can't say no to that.
That was fantastic. The other. I'm trying to remember when it was, but Hulk basically at some point.
I mean, we are really digging, aren't we?
We're scraping the barrel for good moments. We're scraping the holy barrel.
This is desperate.
The fact that I'm having a look at my note, like I can't even remember my favorite moment. I'm having to go to notes to justify what it was.
At least pretend. Your favorite moment
is is that Hulk? So there was a splash of comedy somewhere in the film, and you might remember more. And it was Hulk. Basically, it reminded me very much of you in Iron Man when I described that. I loved the bit where the first time he's in he is like in the Iron Man armor, Mark 1, and his arm gets caught in the rock.
Yeah.
That same thing happens in this film at quite a funny time. And I'm sure it's Bruce and Betty together. And at some point, it might even be the cave moment. And he lashes out and his whole fist gets stuck in a rock.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is that moment, actually.
And it's played as a kind of funny bit. And
oh, mate, that is. I mean, you really dug for that.
That is
really dug for a favorite moment.
Properly dug, but because if I'm being serious, Matt, and I try to keep it about the film, but if I'm serious, my favorite movie was, so my partner's called Sophie, right? You know that well. I'm not trying to describe that to you.
Yes, mate. No, that's fine.
But as a reference point. Just in case you forgot. But once Banner got captured, right? So he gets captured in America, doesn't he? There's a big old fallout, and then he gets captured and he's in the bed, right? Yep. And at this point, Sophie had been coming in and out of the living room, watching, seen various bits of the film, right? Got to that part, so quite near the end of the film, right? That's just before Blonsky goes full Godzilla, right? Sophie walks in and goes, "This looks like the shittest movie." And I just start absolutely wetting myself. She's never watched it. She doesn't know anything about Marvel films. We've got no
astute observation.
What an incredibly accurate opinion to have for a film she knows nothing about, for a whole set of for a universe worth of films she knows nothing about. And she came in, looked dead at the TV, looked at me and went, "This just looks like shit." And it had the kind of disgust and hatred on her face that just absolutely made me piss myself laughing.
It's so funny.
And that
is so funny.
If I'm honest, Matt, that was my favourite moment. And it wasn't even in the film.
Well, okay. Well, I feel like we're kind of getting to the climax of the movie, which is the fight scene, isn't it?
Right. With the fight, yes, the fight scene. This is the big Blonsky, the Abomination, despite the fact that it's never referred to as Abomination anywhere. I'm assuming that's what the Abomination is.
I can't remember any kind of line or reference to him being called that. That's what happened when he kind of evolved. So basically, you met this other scientist, and I mean, beforehand, Edward met this scientist. Name escapes me. Who was going to then try? It was called Mr. Blue, wasn't he? He was the person that was talking to over the laptop.
Yes.
In the start of the movie, and he's got a cure. Well, a suspected cure, and they tried to get that sorted out for Bruce. Didn't happen. When able, that didn't work out, and then effectively, Blonsky then found him and went, "You're gonna, stick some more of this stuff in me," basically. And then he kind of evolved into Abomination. And then all of a sudden he went on a rampage, and that was that.
Yeah.
And then here comes the end of the movie.
So last week, or not last week, but in the last podcast, you might remember, Matt, that we discussed where we both have different visions of a fight scene, and that civilians, for you don't really feel that they should be a part of, right? You don't.
I still don't, and even less so in this movie.
For me, still do, and depressed by the lack of civilians in this film, right?
They were just running. Getting out of the way.
But there was a part in this film which I thought, if this was a Hulk film from now, right, and you've got all the comedy and all that, there was a brilliant setup. The big fight in the park, right? Mm-hmm. If initially Hulk or Bruce became Hulk, and there was just, what I would have loved more than anything is there was just a family of four, right, playing golf. And just for a little golf ball, tiny golf ball, to hit massive Hulk, right? You see, your smile's coming, and it would have just been Hulk's little demon eyes, and then these four absolutely petrified people playing golf.
That'd be great, mate.
I wouldn't play on it. It would just be he's rocking out massive tension music. Then you just see the smallest golf ball hit him in the nose. Music stops, turns around, looks straight at the family of four. They just go, "What the fuck?"
What a wonderful moment that would have been. and funny. It would have been like comedic relief in what was, I think, at that point, probably about, a good 80 to 90 minutes of just drab movies. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was just drab. Yeah. I think and this might be controversial. I didn't overly dislike the final sequence. It just wasn't warranted. I think there's the only big bugbear I had with it. I think the Iron Man fight scene at the end compared to the fight scene at the end of this is on par with each other in it being bad. I think the only reason why I think Iron Man might clinch it is because of the context, the backstory, it's justified, that fight. In Hulk, it's just not justified. We needed more of Abomination. We needed more setup there. We needed more from Hulk in itself, where there's no way I was on board with this kind of Hulk. But I think the way it was shot and the way it was kind of sequenced together was, it was fine.
One thing I would agree with all of that. Only thing I would dispute is that actually, I'll give this is a positive. Can I have this on record? This is a bit of positivity. Is that the death of the Abomination, right? So the whole strangulation, Hulk follows, but all follows the Hulk smash. Mm-hmm. That so much better, like immeasurably better than Obadiah's death or disappearance. Right,
big time.
That I felt they absolutely nailed that. That was enjoyable. You saw the Abomination die. Like I was, Hulk smash. Like it was fun. Like that was great for me. That perfect.
Yeah. That moment when I was like, this fight scene's I'm actually watching it, and I was actually going, okay, all right, that's good. They're climbing up. They're going through apartments. They're smashing everything. They are creating a horrendous amount of destruction, as you would expect for two colossal kind of characters and monsters. And then obviously Thunderbolt Ross is in the helicopter and he tries to shoot down, and obviously then the helicopter gets kind of like almost set alight and blown up. And as the moment where it does get blown up, Hulk decides to clap his hands together to form a tidal wave of air to then stop and effectively blow out the burning hot flames of what is now on and encompassing the helicopter, saving Thunderbolt Ross and Betty Ross. Mm-hmm. It was a clap. Sorry, the Hulk's going to do that, and that's going to justify all the air taking, that out, not what. That was a moment for me, genuinely. I was like, don't buy that. Don't buy it at all. Was it a particularly windy day? I'm not aware. Just wasn't aware, mate. Any final thoughts on the movie before we go to the end credits, mate? Wow, that's telling. That silence was it wasn't even a silence, everybody. Just from audio description there, what happened is that Forrest exhaled very deeply and then leant backwards into his chair like I've given him probably one of the heaviest questions of his life.
That felt like GCSE drama. Or no, not GCSE drama, GCSE maths.
That's right. More like
GCSE maths all over again. That
GCSE drama, fine.
Get up and be a turtle. Oh yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
All I got to say to you, is, my friend, is that I'm proud of you. That you watched this movie, and you even paid for it.
You too, mate.
Right.
I feel how we both felt coming out of the Eternals.
We've still got to talk about that, and that's further down the line, my friend.
But to be fair to the two listeners or one listener, right? The avid one listener, just to say, if you're listening now and you can see that we've done loads of podcasts, and somewhere on that list, right, maybe in a couple of years' time, there is the Eternals, I suggest you just flip to about the 45th minute, catch the last 15 minutes, but do it when you're really busy, but you got a bit of time to have someone on in the background. You're making a really nice spag bowl. Your partner's there. You're looking after your kids, and you just think, oh, I love listening to these two. Well, I'll listen to the last 15 minutes of the Eternals podcast.
Honestly, I can't believe we're gonna have to watch that film again.
Oh,
anyway, we're talking about Incredible Hulk, and that was our deep dive, and we've got through it. And at the end of the movie, you go, thank Christ, we're not going to see Edward Norton in a Marvel movie again. But what does happen is the end credit sequence, which is probably the most interesting part of it all, just because it canonizes and it sort of threads through in the introduction to Tony Stark. So we see Thunderbolt Ross in the bar. He's obviously had a terrible time. Obviously, nothing's gone to plan in terms of trying to get the Hulk. Abomination, that all goes tits up. So he's in a bar getting drunk. He asks for a reload, which I find quite funny. So he finishes his drink, he goes reload. I was like, okay, interesting turn of phrase there, but that's okay. So he gives him another drink, and then through the door comes Tony Stark, and quite simply, just kind of replicating a little bit what happened with Nick Fury and Tony Stark in the end credit sequence for the first Iron Man movie, is that he effectively goes, look, I hear it all went a little bit tits up with you and the Hulk, but I'm setting up a team, he says. And then pretty much that is how it kind of ends, with the hint of the Avengers Initiative. So it kind of links and threads through there.
But it's made in those few short seconds, right? It just put a smile on my face. Seeing Robert just put a short smile on my face, and I was like, yeah, he's bought it back. And me and Matt are on to Iron Man 2.
Right, to Iron Man 2. Thank God. Whoa, well, we did it. I mean, if you are listening to this, one listener, Kev, John, Jed, Judd, whoever you are, if you want to just sort of email in and let us know your thoughts about the Incredible Hulk, if you've kind of endured this as well recently as much as we have, we honestly, we need to hear from you. Actually, give yourself the benefit of doubt and let us know that you've had to endure this as well, and give us your thoughts. You can email us on don'tbeaheropodcast@gmail.com. Well, thank you so much, dude. You know what? I'm so thankful that I've endured this with you, my friend. I feel like we've been through the trenches with this movie.
We have indeed, mate. And I could only put up with it with you by my side, mate.
Oh, yeah, I don't. You're going to make me cry.
So we're going to walk hand in hand into the podcast sunset and bid you all a farewell.
Goodbye.
Till next time.